Hey everyone. Okay, I'm gonna start off and telling you I'm in a good mood. I'm in a great mood because we have a lot to be excited about. Okay, so I'm actually excited to do this video. Post Dem Debate in Detroit, the second debate, and both nights are over. And so I just wanted to share some insights that are a little bit different than what you've been seeing around because everyone's doing the usual political pundit thing. I'm going to bring in some insights that are more kind of like more the humanistic level and just more, just something that I haven't seen much talked about, but it's really good for us and points out really like the kind of president that Bernie Sanders will be, the kind of presidency and administration he will have, and the energy he will bring, and just the power and the momentum of not me, us, cause friends, brothers and sisters, we did good, okay? Like, awesome. We really did, like, yeah, I have no words. Like, I'm really excited. I was on Twitter typing in caps because that's how excited I was. Anyway, so let's just start off with some like really cool facts. Within like, what was it, like 16 hours? Yeah. You know, after Bernie at the debate, his campaign put out a press release that they had already raised $1 million from 70,000 donors. And I was kind of like, okay, I mean, that's awesome. That's really good. But, you know, in Florida, we raised $2 million within a 24-hour period. So I got on Twitter. I was like, all right, come on, Berners, we can do this. Let's get to 2 million. 2 million within the 24-hour period. We got like 8 hours. Like, we can do this. And we did. We did. They put out a press release. There was a memo. It wasn't a press release, but the campaign put out a memo to like their field organizations, and yes, so during Dem Debate, Bernie 2020, not me, us, raised $2 million from 100,000 donations. But here's the exciting part: a quarter of those, 25% of those, were new contributors. New. This is big because this is growing the base. Okay, so it wasn't just you and I, the regulars, it was new people, okay? And a quarter, that's a lot. 25% of new contributors is a lot. So that was the number I was actually more excited about because, you know, one of the questions that anti-Bernies usually get into is, well, yeah, he's so great, but what is he doing to, you know, grow the base other than the diehard Bernie's, you know, supporters? Well, here you go. Here's a great example. 25% new contributors after the second debate. And, you know, what was even really amazing, okay, remember back in 2015, like, Medicare For All was just seen as a pipe dream. And, you know, even Hillary Clinton said, it's never going to happen. You know, we got to be pragmatic and realistic, right? Let's just build upon Obamacare, maybe add a public option. Like, we got to be realistic. Medicare for All is not realistic. And now it's become a top issue in 2020. And so for those like anti-Bernies who are like, well, Bernie Sanders hasn't gotten anything done, like a whole whopping 50 minutes between the two debates was spent on Medicare for All. It was the first subject. They spent 50 minutes talking about it, debating, talking about it. I mean, and it was the most talked about, the topic that had the most time spent. But it was like, and they spent actually more time on the second day than the first day talking about Medicare for All. And Bernie wasn't even in the second debate. And all their, you know, Medicare for All got a huge thing, got a huge amount of time. And so, you know, this really just goes to show, right, that, you know, voters are like, you know, being more open. It's like, this seems like big change, right? But really it isn't. I mean, we're just building upon an existing system, which is Medicare. What is big is that, like, oh, we can actually have change. Like, we can actually do big stuff, which is what Bernie keeps emphasizing. And I think that's like an important thing, is that we've just been beaten and told for so long to settle for less. Like, we as voters, we should just settle. This is the status quo. This is as good as it's going to get. Maybe you'll get like little incremental changes. So just be happy with that, right? And it's like, no, we're done. We don't want that anymore. And that's something to point out too. In the opening statements, during, the night Bernie was on, his was completely different than the other 9, and he went straight in and talked about the economic servitude. He just went in and talked about, again, how the 99% are in economic servitude to the 1% who perpetually get rich, while at the expense of us and animals and planet, right? So like he brought up, he came with facts. Like he started off with how 87 million Americans are underinsured, while big healthcare made 100 billion in profits. He brought up how 49% of new income goes to the top, goes to the 1%, while most of us, hundreds of millions of us literally live, paycheck to paycheck. And then he brought up, like, there's 500,000 people who are homeless, and here's Amazon, who made 11 billion in profits last year and paid 0 in taxes, none. Like, so why are we in this system? Again, the 99% we're in economic servitude to the 1%, so they can make a whole lot of money at our expense, and we're done. We don't want to do that anymore, right? We're tired. And we want big change. We want transformational change. And that's what, a President Bernie Sanders is offering. And so, I just like I thought he did really well during the debate, because he focused on numbers. He brought a lot of data points that Americans can relate to, right? How it's so unfair that the 1%, the corporations get all these breaks, and we are the ones that really are the ones suffering while they get richer, right? It's the whole point of corporate socialism. But yet when we want to have things like healthcare and education, canceling student debt, having clean water, it's like, oh God, you people are asking for too much. And it's like, these are basic things. If we're a country of prosperity, then everyone should prosper, just not a handful. Well, hundreds of millions of us, are in servitude. That's our life. And no wonder, the rates of the opioid crisis, the number of people like drinking, taking drugs, other, mental health and wellness issues, sickness, addictions, and even life expectancy. Like, for the past 3 years, life expectancy in the United States has been dropping. And, you look around, it's like, well, that's not surprising. Look at the life, the culture that we have now. Just from an economic standpoint, especially like being sick. Why? The healthcare industry is basically parasitic, and in their business model, human lives are just commodities to them. All they care about is profits, and they've now become the arbitrators of who gets to live and who dies, based on money. So, like, their CEOs can make huge amounts of money, and their shareholders can make millions of dollars, while, like, most of us suffer or die, And then, Bernie did that bus trip to Canada with the diabetes patients, and just to see, like, 1/10 the price. Like, there was a picture of, like, what $10,000 US of insulin looked like. And they paid that family paid like 1/10 the price. They paid $1,000 plus, like, for it. And that's not even a year's supply. Okay. I'm just like looking at that going, God, that's 10 grand. And in Canada, that's like a $9,000 difference. Like and that's for one person. So imagine exponentially how much more money, like Big Pharma is making just in the United States. You just cross the border into Canada. So now that's creating like pharmaceutical refugees from the United States into Canada, just so people can buy drugs, you know, their medications, so they can live, right? So it's just, I mean, it's just really horrifying. And it's good that Bernie is doing things like this, right? I mean, he's showing real examples. He's just not talking about like, oh, I'm going to do this and this. He's actually like with real people, showing real life examples of again, where we're in economic servitude to the corporatocracy, and how like his administration will help change that. But, you know, what's you know, important in his messaging is that he even says this over and over again, that one president, one person can't make all the change. It's going to take millions of people coming together, millions of us coming together. And it also, and the importance of that is that we need to vote in a progressive Congress, right? Because again, President Bernie Sanders can't get anything passed unless he has a progressive House and Senate to pass these things. And we can do that. It is possible. I know a lot of us, you know, we've got it ingrained. We've been trained to not wish or dream or want for bigger things, because it's like, oh, well, that's not going to work. Oh, that's never going to happen. But, you know, we have to come from the standpoint that, yes, we can. We do deserve better. We do deserve the country and an economy that works for us. It's not about the corporations anymore. I mean, and these politicians who get bought off. And, you know, I mean, that's the big reason I support Bernie, is because like he is fighting the power structures of the 1% that keep the 99% in economic servitude to them, so they can get perpetually richer off of us, like while we're suffering and struggling. I mean, it's so unfair. So, you know, we can have prosperity for all. Like wanting a higher good for all and a prosperity for all is not asking too much, right? It's not, and we need to stop accepting less. We need to stop like thinking that we can't have, you know, better and bigger things for we the people, you know, and I mean, that was another big difference between, you know, night 1 and night 2, which I thought was interesting. CNN even pointed at that their panel afterwards on night 2 kind of pointed out like the energy was very different from night 1 and night 2. And night 2 was more like cantankerous and, you know, like it really was. It really was like more of them were going at each other. There was less like, you know, aspirational, inspirational things compared to night 1, where you had basically Bernie and Warren like, you know, tag teaming together against the Republicans. I mean, let's be serious. Some of those people, you know, are really Republicans, and it was really great how Marianne called them out. Like, I don't even know how do you people call yourself Democrats, right? So, but again, I think that's a testimony to the kind of energy that Bernie brings. He stays at a higher frequency, right? He stays at this like what we believe is possible, what we can have, right? Not what we should settle for. Like what's pragmatic, you know, what's practical. I mean, Tim Ryan said, you know, I'm here for bold ideas that are realistic. Well, those two terms don't match. If bold usually doesn't mean realistic. Realistic means status quo, okay? Bold is like going up here, like moving up here, going for the gusto, and that's what we can have. We can, you know, we believe, you know, we just stay focused, and you know, again, we stay focused on the ground game. We win it on the ground. Mainstream media is going to turn it up even more, harder and harder, with Bernie blackouts, with pundits coming out and saying negative things to try and crush our spirit and get in our head, okay? Don't let them get in your head. Because once they get in there, they mess around with stuff, okay? And then you start to nosedive and feel bad. I totally get it. Been there lots myself, which is one reason like I started doing these videos, to help us stay focused, okay? To help us remember like the power that we have. I mean, again, like 2 million donations, you know, like $2 million, okay, from 100,000 donations, and a quarter of that were from new people, which is very, very exciting, okay? So let's stay focused on the things that we are doing well, and stay focused on that vision, stay focused on the ground game, and we will do this thing, okay? And again, if you haven't, go to berniesanders.com to volunteer. Oh, and that's one last thing that he did that was interesting, I thought, on you know, in his closing, he mentioned go to berniesanders.com to volunteer, right? He had a call to action. And nobody else did that on the first night, which I thought was odd. And then the second night, practically everybody did the same thing. They're like, go to my website, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, part of the fact that they probably did that as they saw, like, oh my God, Bernie raised like $1 million in like 16 hours. So go to my website and donate some money, right? So go to berniesanders.com, donate, volunteer. Let's get to, you know, canvassing, phone banking, texting, tabling, creating content. And for those of you still thinking about, you know, doing a blog or, you know, setting up an Instagram, a Facebook, you know, any social that you've been thinking about, to talk about more about Bernie, like, do it. Now's the time. Videos. If you want to do videos, start doing videos. Start doing it now, okay? Because the more media that's out there, again, that helps signal boost Bernie Sanders and the campaign, all right? Remember, not me, us. We got this.